What's up, everyone? It's your host, Ghost, coming back with another beautiful video. The best videos, right? Absolutely. Just got something real small. Well, not really real small, but I only got really one subject. I think it might take up the entire hour I normally spend on these. I gotta adjust my camera. Okay. Um, but anyways, yeah, I have a feeling this might take most of my time here, but we'll see. I don't really have anything else to talk about, so if it doesn't, then that's all the video is going to be really about. Um, but first, some exciting news. Got myself a new chair. Yeah, it's all comfy, super comfy, and I can, oops, it reclines and everything, so that's super nice. It reclines, and yeah, I like it. It's actually quite comfortable. There you go. All right. But yeah, nice and comfy. I like a comfy chair. So hopefully I don't pass out in it because it's very comfy. I could fall asleep in it. And then I go yawning. Oh, Lord. All right. Just like goddamn. Okay. I think that's all right. That's good. Yeah. Ignore the background. All right. So what I'm going to talk about is the 28th Amendment proposal. For those of you who do not know and could not guess by the title of this video, Commiefornia Governor Gavin Newsom has proposed the 28th Amendment to restrict gun ownership. So we're going to get into that. Now, I will say this, although I do not like the proposal, I do agree that is the correct way to go when it comes to restricting an amendment, like our Second Amendment. I don't agree with it, but I agree like it's the correct way to go is to make an amendment to restrict an amendment, if that makes any sense. That's the correct, I guess, I think like way to do it constitutionally. So I mean, like it's at least the correct way to do it, I guess, if that makes sense. Instead of making some laws that inhibit a fundamental right. But that being said, don't agree with it. So I still think he's a piece of shit for even proposing it. Oh, this is why he definitely shouldn't be president. But let's get into it. All right, get into it. So hopefully we'll find something interesting. All right. So like I said, Gavin Newsom proposes or wants a 28th Amendment for guns in U.S. Constitution. Again, like I just said, it's the correct way to go about it when restricting an amendment, a fundamental right. It's like, well, nope, nothing restricting a right's really correct, but it's like the legal process instead of just passing a law restricting it. It's to make an amendment on an amendment is the right way to go. If that makes any sense to what I'm trying to say. I don't agree with it, but I do agree with like that's the that was like the process to deal with stuff like this. And this comes from Politico. But anyways, so California governor outlines a plan fueled by money left over by his recent reelection. And this is what you get, California. Governor Gavin Newsom is seeking an amendment to the U.S. Constitution that would restrict gun ownership. A daunting and likely response, whatever, I don't even know what that word means, to the deadliest wave of mass shootings in U.S. history that would nonetheless position California as the most aggressive state in the union on gun control. Oh, sorry. I'm tired. All right. Newsom outlined his plan Thursday to pursue the amendment, seated with cash left over from his landslide 2022 reelection, fueled by frustration over. No, it's okay. This is all bullshit. It's not frustration at all. He doesn't give a shit. He just thinks he'll win in political points for when he runs for president. So don't let that bullshit fool you. He's not frustrated. He's a politician. He doesn't give two shits. If the majority of his estate, like if all of them all of a sudden started like liking guns, like everyone in his state, he'd switch his position like a motherfucker. So don't be fooled by this bullshit. Oh, I just feel and I'm so frustrated. No, he doesn't give a shit. Don't let him fool you. All right. So fueled by frustration, bullshit, over the country's failure. See, I'm tired. Should have done this earlier. Anyways, country's failure to adopt restrictions that polls show most Americans broadly support, and a conservative Supreme Court that has rolled back gun laws. Yes, they have. If you guys don't remember recently, the Supreme Court ruled basically it was the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association Inc. versus Bruin. I don't know who the fuck Bruin is. It was this big law. Basically, what it was generally about was it was a New York law that required applications for a license to carry a concealed pistol on their person to show proper cause. Basically, meaning that if you were in New York and you wanted to carry goddamn, if you wanted to carry a gun like a pistol, or a concealed carry pistol in public, you'd have to show why. Like, oh, I need this proper. This is the reason why I should be able to do it, which is bullshit. This is why New York's a garbage state. If I want to carry my goddamn gun, then I get to carry my goddamn gun as long as I'm not waving it around for people and not using it inappropriately. And if I do, then you can arrest me for brandishing or making threats or whatever. But anyways, basically, like I think if I remember correctly, the main problem was it wasn't really like there wasn't really much of a there was no proper cause that could be given that they ended that would it would be grant to get a concealed carry pistol on there to be able to do that. It was rare that they were issued, and that was the main reason why this lawsuit happened. Again, it was New York State Rifle and Pistol Associates Inc. versus Bruin. Bruin's Kevin P. Bruin, and he was the superintendent of New York State Police. Anyways, so this was a very important lawsuit and decision handed down by the Supreme Court, because what ended up happening is Justice Clarence Thomas, hero, if you really think about it, he just ended all the gun laws that we have. If you think about it, because what he said was in a phrase towards the end was that we should, let's see if I can get the proper. Sorry. I can't really. Okay, there it is. So it was led by Justice Thomas. Let's see. God damn it, I can't even find where it was. But I guess I don't really need to, because but basically, what the decision ended up in the end laying is basically Justice Thomas saying that any regulation should be held in the light of the historical tradition of firearm regulations. Any new regulation should follow the tradition like back, in like the 1776, basically. Um, damn, I wish I could really read it because I know I'm not doing a great job at explaining it because I'm a terrible individual explaining shit. But it basically was like, if you want to make a regulation, then you would need to follow the tradition of when it was written. Basically, like go back to when it was written, and the tradition for that is how you should do restrictions. And if you didn't know, when it was written, I don't think there was much restrictions. Um, I mean, there wasn't any. I don't think at all. But that was like basically the gist of it. I know I'm not doing a really good job explaining it. I apologize. But I am human, so just just take me as I am. But that was basically the gist of it. I'm sure there are very others like legal YouTubers that can explain it far better than me. But that's my general layman's gist of it. Anyways, continuing on to this moron. I mean, very important governor, right? Uh, anyways, okay. This is a mechanism to address that despair. Okay, no, there's no despair. He doesn't give a shit. All right. So if you're in Commiefornia and you actually think he doesn't. He thinks he can win political points. This is how most politicians operate. They think they can win political points, and guns are really easy for places like Commiefornia and all that shit, and New York. So that's why they do it. They don't really give a shit about you. If you think they do, then I got some land in a sinkhole. I'd like to sell you. Okay, so I don't really care about it. Okay, so we're sick of being on the defense and throwing up our hands. We want to go on the offense and be for something and build a movement that bottoms up, not top down. Okay, whatever. So here's what basically the 28th Amendment he wants in the 20th Amendment. All right, so he would raise the federal minimum age to buy a firearm to 21 from 18. Generally, I don't know in how many states, but a lot of states, it's 18 to buy a rifle or shotgun and 21 to buy a pistol. That's a good amount of states that have that kind of law. I think that's bullshit, but what can you do? And okay, so if we raise the federal minimum age of one rights, we should do it for all rights, correct? So if we're going to do it for firearms, then raise the voting age to 21, right? Right? That seems reasonable. Raise the adult age from 18 to 21. Now you need to be 21 to be considered a legal adult. Let's do that. I think it's really stupid because, like, this is an extreme example, straw man, whatever. Let's say you're an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, and say this passes. But then you get, a break-in, a stalker, a crazy ex, whatever. All right, or your neighborhood you've been living in actually suddenly starts being kind of shitty. You want to get a gun? Well, now you can't get a gun until you turn 21. Okay, so you got to feel safe for 8, 9, 3 years. See, I don't math well. To buy a firearm and protect yourself. Because look, whatever you think about firearms, they are the great equalizer. All right, it don't matter whether you're a girl, a guy, a small girl, small guy, giant girl. It doesn't matter. Bullets hurt everyone. All right, unless it's 22, then don't do shit. I don't like 22s, but you got most other calibers. They hurt everyone. All right, there's some that might not do as much damage, but most of them will do a decent good amount of damage. All right, so bullets hurt everyone, so it's a great equalizer. If we both have guns or we have the same level of training, like if we both pick, if two random people never touched a firearm before pick up a gun, they both have a chance of defeating the other. That's why it's a great equalizer. Don't matter if some giant roided out dude attacks a 4'9" or for a 5 foot woman and she has a firearm. It's a good chance he'll win as long as she hits him. Anyways, so it also would do a mandated universal background checks. Now, what universal background checks mean is private sales. That's what it generally means, but they don't say that. They don't say background checks for private owners because there's always like Democrats like to use that myth where you can just walk into a gun store and buy a gun, no problem. Well, what most people don't know if they've never bought a gun because they're idiots is that to get a gun, you are required to go through a federal background check. That is a requirement. You cannot go to Walmart and buy a gun without going through a federal background check. So universal background checks would require, it requires a lot more than just background checks, but it's generally aimed towards private sales. And because of that, and what it doesn't say in here is if you want a universal background check, what would be required is a registry, a national registry. Now, for those of you who think it's a good idea to have a national registry, you're a fucking idiot. Why is it not good to have a federal registry? Well, I'll tell you. If the government decides that they want to target you for whatever reason, or they want to target all gun owners for whatever reason, because, they may become tyrannical or something like that, or for whatever reason, they can find out how many guns you have, and they can, it's basically what it is. They'll be able to find out how many guns that you have, and they can, use that information to remove them for whatever reason. Like there's a bunch of red flag law bullshit in some states. So they know if you have guns and how many you have, they can confiscate them all and shit. I don't like the national registry. It's none of the government's business how many guns I have. Okay? It's none of their business. If you think it's their business, you're a fucking idiot. But that's what in between the lines the universal background checks would require, because you would not be able to actually do anything with a universal background check unless you had a national registry. Because guess what? If I buy a gun from someone and there's no registry, how do you know I bought it from this person? Even if they tell you, because what people don't know is there actually isn't a registry. All tracing a serial number will do is trace it back to the store that it was sent to. So say you have a gun store. So all that would do, if they trace the serial number, is send it to, it would send the police to the store. Now, maybe I'm not sure what the gun store's policy is, but I know they hold forums. I don't know how long. I wonder. Hold on. Okay. So yeah, indefinitely. So they keep records of firearm sales. So all it does when it comes to recording the serial numbers is it just goes to the last point of sale, which is the gun store, and then they'll go to whoever bought it first. Now, say if I sold someone a gun or they sold me a gun, and either we have we do some paperwork for a private transfer, or we just do it between us, there'd be no real record of it. Again, look, I understand the idea and the concept and all that, but I don't like registries because I think it would be used for more harm than good. Maybe I'm just paranoid, but that's what I feel about registries. Yeah, I don't like registries. I don't think the government has any right to know how many guns I have. It's none of their goddamn fucking business. All right. Next, it would institute a reasonable waiting period for all gun purchases and ban assault rifles nationally. Okay. I think wait periods are stupid. If I want to buy a gun and the person selling me the gun doesn't have any suspicions I am suicidal or, under the influence or have the intent to go to murder anyone, then I should be able to take that same gun home, just like all my other purchases, especially considering if I pass the goddamn background check. Because guess what? The background check doesn't really, the waiting period isn't for a goddamn background check. It's this like idea that, oh, if you'd wait and if you're planning to commit a crime or something, then you would, wait, you would be able to cool off and stuff like that. Which again, I understand the concept, but I think it's stupid. Because first off, if someone buys a gun and then is planning to use it in a crime, well, when they use that gun, odds are that it'll be traced back to them. Because people are stupid, especially when they're committing crimes. So it'll probably end up being traced back to them. And because you got to do a background check, if all of a sudden someone that you didn't like, because generally, if you're going to go shoot someone, it's someone you know, at least in a heat of passion and all that stuff, where, in a scenario where you would just go out and buy a gun and shoot someone, it's going to be someone you know. And, they'll be able to probably track, because you passed a background check. They'll be able to say, oh, you had a background check done for a firearm. What kind of caliber was it? Oh, so the person got shot by a 9mm, and you just so happened to buy a 9mm the day before. That's reasonable cause right there, or probable cause right there. So I mean, let's be honest. When it comes to like crimes and cops and stuff, they're not really preventative people. They're more cleaners. Like they clean up afterwards. So they're not preventative, they're reactive. Waiting periods are stupid. I should be able to if I pass a background check, I should be able to bring the gun home same day. And then a ban on assault rifles. Now, by assault rifles, what we really means is a scary looking gun that can put attachments on. That's what it really means. Look, assault rifles aren't a thing. All right. Every rifle is an assault rifle because it can assault people with bullets that you aimed at people. So every weapon's really an assault rifle. What they really mean by assault rifles is the AR-15 or something like that. And it's really stupid because it's actually like the number one self-defensive firearm because it's so easy to use. There's hardly any kick. It's really easy to aim, and it's a really great weapon to use for self-defense. But it gets blown out, and it's really stupid. These assault rifle, like the most like mass shootings, shit like that, like crimes and stuff, generally are handguns. They're really handguns that are generally the ones that get like used. So it's really just the assault rifle. What that really means is scary looking gun. It's a scary looking gun, because it has like a pistol grip, but it's a really long gun, and you put attachments on it, and you can put a scope on it. It's a scary looking gun. That's what it really means, because they're fucking idiots. So Newsom acknowledged the seemingly unimaginable hurdles to creating a 28th Amendment to the Constitution. So what he means by that is to get an amendment passed, you generally need a 2/3 majority vote in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, or by constitutional convention called for by 2/3 of the state legislators. And just so you know, none of the 27 amendments to the Constitution have been proposed by a constitutional convention. So, but yeah, that's how you generally get it. It's a 2/3 majority. So you need 66% of both House of Representatives and Senate. So unlike a lot of laws which require like just like a majority, like 51-49 or yeah 51-49 to pass a law, an amendment requires 66%. I don't remember a single law that's been passed with 66%. I don't know. And I could be wrong about that law thing. I have no idea. But yeah, that's what it generally says. Like, it just needs like. I'm just looking it up, see if I can. Hold on. Yeah, so a simple majority, 51 of 100. Oh, yeah, I was right. Well, at least that's in the Senate. So, let's see. And I assume it's the same for the House. So yeah, I was right. Shocking. I am somewhat smart. But yeah, so 51%, a simple majority to pass laws, while 66% is required for passing of amendments. So I don't remember, and maybe you do, but I don't. I don't remember the last law, any law that was passed with 66%. It's always been 51. So, or generally in that general area. I don't remember the last time it was it was 66%. There probably has one, and I just didn't really pay attention, but that's what I think. Anyways, back to this idiot. So let's see. But his plan is distinctly Newsom, designed to draw maximum public attention on an issue where he sees American views are being far ahead of their governments. Yeah, sure. In an interview, he said his motivation to act on guns was inspired by a rollback of gun control measures in courts amid the unending series of mass killings. Specifically, he said it's meant to address the echo chamber of despair out there today. Now, look, he's fucking lying to you. All right, he's really lying. The reason he's trying to go for this is so that he can is so when he runs for president, it like say, in some crazy world, this amendment passes. Now, when he runs for president, he can go, I passed the 28th Amendment, which was, restricted gun rights. All right. That's why he's doing it. And even if he fails, he can say, I tried to save our country by passing gun restrictions. That's the only reason he's doing it. Don't let him fool you. All right. Remember, this is Newsom, the same guy who enacted COVID policies and then broke him himself. All right. He doesn't give a shit about you. And the fact that California and Commiefornia has repeatedly reelected this guy is, sorry, my glasses are all, is, telling. But yeah, it's so goddamn dumb. All right. So let's see. Okay. So the effort position California at the forefront of the fight for increased gun restrictions. Newsom and the state legislators in Sacramento are set to kick off a nationwide process that would require support from 34 states to trigger a convention. So that's what I talked about, which none of the 27 amendments have actually, like, it's never been from a convention. So, and then these morons, the California State Senator Aisha Wyman, and Assembly Member Reggie Jones Sawyer are expected to carry the bill backed by a host of outside gun safety groups. Sure, whatever. This initiative will literally be a catalyst for other states to follow. Sure, it will, said Waham, chair of the state Senate Public Safety Committee, and herself a victim of gun violence. We're gonna get into gun violence here in a little bit, but we'll let's see, how long is this article? Okay, it's not that long. I will try and finish reading it before I get into this bullshit. Nope, I jumped it. There we go. Okay. Waham's father was murdered, and her mother died at an early age. And you notice how, although she claims to be a victim of gun violence, they said that her father was murdered. It didn't say by a gun. Now, you're supposed to make that assumption, I'm guessing, or you're supposed to make the assumption that her mother committed suicide by one, either or. Now maybe it's not necessary because they said the gun violence, but it's interesting how they didn't reiterate it by saying her father was murdered by probably it's probably because he was murdered by gang members or her. Let's see. I wonder. Just looking this up real quick. Interesting. Okay. Still doesn't say it. I'm just looking it up. See, it's interesting. It doesn't say how. I just Googled it real quick. It doesn't say how her father was murdered. That's very interesting. Murder scene. Huh. It doesn't say how her father was murdered. I think that's kind of interesting. She reports to be a victim of gun violence, but it doesn't say how her father was murdered. It says murdered, not brutally murdered. There's nothing on how her mother died. It's just a little interesting. You would think that would have been somewhere where her father was murdered, and it would say, by gun violence or by a gun or shit like that. Just interesting. I'm not saying, obviously that her father wasn't murdered. I'm not saying that at all, but it's just interesting. She claims she's a victim of gun violence, but a quick Google search doesn't say anything about by a gun. And, I think that's kind of insignificant because, her father could have just been beaten to death, stabbed to death, and, hit with a baseball bat, I mean, it sucks, of course. It sucks. Don't get me wrong. Not trying to be an asshole, but it's just interesting how it doesn't say how. And maybe someone can look it up and do better research. I don't know. Anyway, she said she wants to center victims in the debate. No, you don't. And offered that this will start again in California. When we are talking about gun violence, I will get into gun violence here very, very quickly. Across the nation, people, regardless of whether or not they're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, they are being gunned down. Their children are being gunned down, and we've had enough. Okay. Getting 33 other states on board would be almost impossibly difficult. Democrats now control 20 states' legislations across. Yeah, that's. Look, Republicans, if you really want to lose the state legislations, go ahead, try and vote for this bill. Because there's a reason red states have very low gun restrictions. It's a dumb move. It's a very bad losing argument. Let's see. But Newsom, who seated his political committee with $10 million, has spent time on national stage trolling Governor Ron DeSantis and George Abbott of Texas, and has for years crusaded against the gun industry, reaped the political blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Newsom laid the groundwork for his gubernatorial run by championing a 2016 ballot initiative regulating ammunition sales. As as governor, he signed bills restricting ghost guns. But ghost guns are that like makes up like 1% of any like violence or something like that. It's a very low percentage. Barring companies from marketing firearms to minors. So what? Video games can't have guns anymore in California? Prevented people from under 21 from purchasing certain weapons. Okay. He also uses topics to wade into volatile national issues. When Supreme Court upheld a Texas law letting people sue abortion providers, Newsom, California's legislators, pushed Commiefornia legislators to pass a law letting residents sue illegal gun distributors. That's stupid. That sparked the legal reckoning Newsom was hoping for when a federal judge halted California's law next year. Newsom thanked them for also endangering the Texas statute. Okay. Yet large legal headwinds. Now, I also don't think Texas should be allowed to sue abortion providers. If Texas doesn't want abortion providers, then, make it illegal to have an abortion in Texas. Like the abortion, I don't agree with that, because I do agree that it does allow it sparks, it's a slippery slope where they try and do this kind of shit. Okay, yet larger legal headwinds could upend California's progress and limit what the state can enact. The Supreme Court expansive interpretation of the Second Amendment has overridden California's concealed carry rules and reinvigorated challenges to Newsom's ammunition ballot initiative, a ban on high-capacity magazines, California's prohibitions on assault weapons, and other laws. Newsom said even if Congress voted to enact some of the restrictions he pushed, which itself is inconceivable based on recent history, the courts are acting as another seemingly imperative barrier for new reforms, as they should. They're literally throwing out all the progress many of us have made in these blue states. The roadmap of his latest proposal was the 17th Amendment, Newsom said, which in 1913 created popular elections of U.S. senators rather than having them picked by legislators, tipping the balance of power between states and the federal government. He circumspects about its prospects, but predicted that a continued wave of mass carnage could someday tip the scales. Now, for those seeking meaningful action. No, okay. He doesn't really care about meaningful action. Again, all he cares about is winning points with his voters. That's all he cares about. If they really want to do any meaningful actions, which, this is just vaguely talking about like school shootings because it's a big topic. If you really want to do something about school shootings, at least school deaths, you'd put guards in schools. I guarantee you put a couple armed guards at the school that sole job is to prevent any mass shootings, that would severely dampen any mass shootings at schools. Why? Because a mass shooter wants to do as much damage as possible. If he goes someplace where there is armed security, more than likely will end up getting shot himself, or at least would think that. So that's why they don't really care. All right. I'm not saying they like it, but they like having this problem continue to happen because then they can keep trying to push an agenda. That's why they don't do anything really about it. And I think Republicans are guilty of this too, because I don't really know any Republican states that are putting I think maybe Texas started allowing teachers to be armed if they choose to. And I think that's a good way to do it too, is if teachers want to be armed, they should be allowed. They should have it they should carry it in a retention holster. And if they want to, school should pay for them to get, proper training and everything. And yeah, all they got to do is provide their own firearm. I think that's the best way to do it. Well, if not, then armed security. Ugh, sorry. All right. So meaningful action bullshit. If we reach the threshold of these mass shootings and we have another few dozens of these, and see, he's hoping for this in the next year or two, I think people are at a breaking point in this country, and you may see this accelerate in pretty profound, pronounced ways. Short of proposing something transformative, Newsom conceded that I don't know what the hell else to do. I don't know what else is the answer. I don't want to be maudlin or predictable, patronized, and almost too political, but I got 4 damn kids, dude. Dude, you have security. Don't even try that shit. I can't take it anymore. I mean, when they go to the mall now, when they go to a movie theater, when they go to a birthday party, let alone school. See, there he goes. He was talking about school shooting the entire time. I have to have conversation with them about this. It's insane. It's absolute insanity. And the biggest and most insane thing that we can do is the same old BS, shows point fingers. Let's give this a shot. No, let's not give this a shot because fuck you. That's what I think. So, anyways, that's the. Oh. I lost my pillow. Anyways, that's the. That's Gavin Newsom trying to restrict your guns, as most Democrats try to do, apparently. Now, there's this talk about gun violence. Here is the problem. Gun violence generally includes suicides. And that makes up a large percentage of gun violence is suicides. And then after that's generally, I want to say accidental. Well, not generally, but like gun violence includes suicides. It includes accidental discharge. Let's see. I can look up just real quick. Let me look up the definition of gun violence. All right, we'll do that. We'll look up the definition. I can't even get a good definition. Well, okay, so gun violence is violence committed with use of firearms. Let's see. Is there anything else? So yeah. So hold on. So by that definition of gun violence, which is violence committed and anything generally we consider violence. Yeah. Okay. So, oh no. So, gun violence. I'm getting this from Wikipedia, so take with it what you will. So, gun-related violence may or may not be considered criminal. So, there's a key word there. May or may not be considered criminal. We'll get into why that's important. Criminal violence includes homicide, except when and where ruled justifiable. So, self-defense shooting isn't considered criminal violence, but probably still considered gun violence. I am guessing. Assaults with a deadly weapon, suicide. Oh, look at that. Suicide. Oh, shit. Oh, bloody hell. No. Hold on. There we go. All right. So suicide. Look at that. Suicide. Suicide is considered gun violence, gun-related violence, short term or long term, or attempted suicide. So even if you attempt it and you failed, because that's considered gun violence, depending on the jurisdiction. Non-criminal violence, which is still considered gun violence, even though it's not criminal, because of that may or may not be, includes accidental or unintentional injury and death, except perhaps in cases of criminal negligence. Look at that. So, those are the general, gun violence. So, what do we have for gun violence? That includes suicides, homicides, self defense. There we go. Let's see. Accidental. So let's see. So homicides, self defense, accidental, assault with a deadly weapon. I already said suicides, right? Well, it's also attempted suicides. It's 5 right there. So I mean, so when they say gun violence, you got to take into the fact that there's a lot of things that are considered violence with a gun. So let's see. So that's why I have a problem with the term gun violence, because it's a small word that encompasses a lot, but I'm willing to bet most people, when they hear the word gun violence, just think like someone. I think they generally would think homicides, like gang members shooting at each other, someone going out, mass shooters and stuff like that. I think that's when the average person thinks gun violence, I think that's what they generally think. They're thinking, oh, violent crimes using a gun, homicide, stuff like that. I don't think the average person thinks, oh, you know what else is included in that? Suicides. Oh, you know what else is included with that? Accidental discharge. And then, if you accidentally fire it off, let's say you're cleaning and there's a round goes off. I don't know, because you're an idiot. Or like you accidentally, your finger gets on, you accidentally pull the trigger. Boom, that's considered gun violence. Yeah, I don't, and I doubt anyone that I doubt anyone thinks of. I don't even remember. But yeah, so I don't think anyone thinks suicides. I don't think anyone thinks of self defense. That's what I was going to go with. I don't think anyone thinks of accidental suicides. I've repeated myself 100 times. Sorry. Okay, I'm just looking. Okay. Look at that. All right. So I'm just here. I'll share this with you guys just to make my point across. This is just the first thing I pulled up, so I didn't really read it thoroughly. All right. So these are firearm deaths from USA Facts. So the number of firearm deaths in the U.S. increased by 8%, or 36. Oh wow, that's a lot. So 3,680 deaths in 2020 to a total of 48,830 in 2021. Now, something else happened in there. And remember, this is number of firearm deaths. Now, think about it. What's constitute a death? We'll go into that. Oh, look at that. Firearm deaths include all deaths involving guns, such as homicide, suicide, and accidents. Look at that. So, look at that. Good job, USA Facts. Now, why is that important? Well, let me think. Hold on. I'm just looking at something real quick. Sorry. So now this is important. Now I understand that, what the hell? Now 3608 deaths in 2020 to almost 50 in 2021. Now let's think about it. What happened in that time? Well, the Summer of Love, Rittenhouse, lots of riots and whatnot. So that could be a reason. So now, what is important here? Look at the number of suicides. So of that 48, 26,328 are suicides. 20,000, almost 21 are homicides. So almost about 5,000 more suicides than homicides. Now, homicides also include self-defense, and that's important. So why is that important? So Rittenhouse, when he was on trial, Rosenbaum and Anthony Hubert were considered their cause of death was homicide. Now, what homicide means is just death by another human's hands. That's what a homicide is. Okay, doesn't mean you're guilty or anything. So, homicides also include self-defense shootings. I think it's a very important distinction. But even with that, suicides were a lot higher. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. They hear gun deaths and they just think someone going into a school and shooting stuff up or going into a mall and shooting stuff up. No, generally it's mostly suicides. And then from there it's homicides. But then those homicides get broken up because homicide is death by another human. So even if it's an accident, it's technically a homicide too. Charges get kind of like distinguished from there, like accidental manslaughter and stuff like that, but it's actually still technically a homicide, if I am right. I think I'm right. I don't have a lot more time. We'll just look at that real quick. I ended up on but yeah, I don't even remember what I was trying to look up. Oh yeah. Okay, maybe there's a difference. But anyways, homicide also includes self-defense and stuff like that, So, even if, you shot someone and they deserved it because they're trying to kill you, that's technically considered a homicide. Although definitions that unlawful killing, until you're actually, until it's actually determined as lawful by self-defense or technically, because like if you noticed, if you watch the Rittenhouse trial, and if you watch like the Theodore Edgecombe trial, when they talked to the medical examiner, the examiner ruled it homicide death, and it just means death by another human. So, but anyways, that's my gun talk. If you couldn't tell, very pro gun, 100%, all the way pro gun. So if you couldn't tell that, well, now you know. That's all. I actually managed to go through this and do a good video on that. So good job for me. Pat on my back. You should reward me for that by liking and subscribing the video and going to my Rumble channel and follow me on Rumble so I can live stream on Rumble. That would be nice. So let's see. Yeah, that's all I got. I only got like a few minutes left for my pre-recording is done. So, but yeah, so like and subscribe the video. Follow me on Rumble. Follow me on my Twitter, official W Ghost. And then my Rumble channel, go ahead and follow that too. My second Rumble channel, Gaming with Ghost. Eventually I'll put something up there. I'm kind of working on the bugs here. And that's all I got for you. Again, I think this amendment's doomed to fail. There's not enough for even a 2/3 majority. Like as you know, there's only 20 state Senate legislators that are Democrat, and those would be the ones that are more than likely to vote for it. But there's also a fair bit of Democratic state legislators that are not going to vote for it, because although they're Democrat, they still live in a very pro gun state. So I think he's grossly overestimating those 20 states. But it's just me with my opinion. Yeah, so I think it's doomed to fail. I think he's just trying to get political points for when he runs for office. Again, that's all it's really for. He doesn't really care. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know my wonderful voice probably put you to sleep, but hopefully I gave you some information. Hopefully you found it interesting. And fuck Gavin Newsom. Fuck him. Fucking asshole. Oh God. But yeah, anyways, I hope you all have a good day. And yeah, that's all I got for you. So